Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're Masechtas Gittin daf Lamed Beis. We're going to begin with the new parak, the fourth parak, Hasholeach. Hasholeach get l'ishto. Person sends a get to his wife, obviously planning through the shliach to have this get delivered to her, and then v'higia b'shliach. The husband happens to encounter the shliach along the road before he actually delivered the get. O sheshol chachor shliach, or let's say he actually sends a second shliach to stop the first shliach from bringing it. The Yomi alone, he says, get shenasatu chabatalhu harizeh batal. He says, you know that get that I gave you to divorce my wife, I changed my mind, so in fact it works. We do not say that as soon as the husband gives over the get to the woman, to the shliach rather, that she's automatically divorced. No, it has to be that the shliach physically gives it to the woman. And until that point, he's able to change his mind by going to the shliach physically and saying it. Kidem etzel ishto, let's say he got to his wife first, o shesholch etzla shliach, or he sends a shliach to her, the amul get sheshalachti loch, the get which I'm sending to you, batal hu harizeh batal. So either you can tell the shliach who has the get, or the woman who is about to receive it, and it would work. We're going to discuss the chiddush in these cases. Now, imishi hagia get liyada. However, once she actually physically has the get, shuv eni yochel avatloi, he can no longer mavatal it, because as soon as she receives the get, they're divorced, and there's nothing that he could do about it anymore. She is halachically not married to him, and therefore, even if after the fact he changes his mind, it's too late. Obviously, if she agrees, she could remarry him, but at this point, they're no longer married. And then the Mishnah concludes, Brishona, originally, Haya'oisa basin memakam acher umavatloi. Says Rashi, Lo hayimavatul b'fnei hashliach, lo b'fnei isha. It wasn't necessary for the husband to have to go to either the shliach or to his wife to mavatal it. El b'makam shehay oimed hayimavatul b'fnei shloisha. He could just stay in his neighborhood, find three guys to constitute a beis din, and be mavatal it right then and there. Of course, the problem is the shliach doesn't know about it, the wife doesn't know about it. The shliach continues on his journey, gives the wife the get. She thinks she's no longer divorced. She can get remarried because of this. Obviously, you can understand the problems. And for that reason, Hiskin Rabbi Gamliel Hazakin Shloyu Oisen Kain Mimnei Tikkun Oilam. Because of Tikkun Oilam, because again, the shliach, says Rashi, She'eni Yodea B'davar, he doesn't know. He's going to go and give her the get, and she's going to marry someone else. Says the Gemara, Hagia lo katani ela higia. It says that he happened to go. Now it doesn't say higia, which is Rashi's mashma sharodav acharav, like he was pursuing after him. But it just means v'afil memela, says Rashi, shenishtahe shliach b'derech. The shliach was taking his merry old time. The hayil was that derech l'sham v'ro fil hachabatel. So the din is that even though he wasn't really going after the shliach, but he just happened to bump into him in a supermarket, he says, "Oh, it's so funny that I bumped into you here." Be mavatal again. Now, why would we think that would make any difference? Says the Gemara, "V'lam rinan." We don't say with surahu de kamachaven. That maybe his das really is not to be mavatal to get. He's just trying to cause problems, to cause her pain and suffering, and that's the reason why he said it. But really, he didn't really mean it. Really, the get is not batal. Kamashmua, no. O sheshalach acharv shliach lomli. Why does it need to tell us the case of shliach number 2 could tell shliach number 1 that it's batal? Madatema lo alima shlichusa debasim shlichusa dekama delavatli kamashmuan. You would think, why is one shliach stronger than the other? So you would think, okay, fine, the husband, that makes sense, he could be mavatal. But a second shliach, who says that the second shliach is any stronger than the first? We say that, no, he has the ability to do so. Okay. Kidem hu eitzel ishto lamali. So why does the Mishnah mention the case where he went to his wife and said this. Maybe we only say that he's not causing problems. That's when he says this to a shliach. The fact that he goes to her face, and says this, you can understand the emotional distress he's probably trying to cause. So it's interesting. The Havamid is vadai l'tzir kamachaven kamash mulan, which it doesn't mean kamash mulan. It's not vadai. Maybe he really is causing problems, but it doesn't mean that he wants to be mevatel to get. Some different ways to understand the kamash mulan. But regardless, the get's still batal. O sheshalach etzel shliach lamli. He sends a shliach to her. Ma'atem ihudelo tarach. He himself just doesn't want to deal with the annoyance of physically going all the way over there. So he himself, the fact that he went there, so why did he go there? It must be maybe his das is to cause problems. So in this situation, you can say, okay, fine. He wants to cause tsar, but at the same time, is his twisted enjoyment of seeing her anguish worth him having to travel all the way to another city to do it? Maybe not. Maybe therefore he's sincere. However, to send a shliach where he's not troubling himself at all, instead all's happening is someone else is doing it for him. So maybe the tsar that he's causing her is more legitimate, and maybe he really, in that case, did not have intentions to be mevatel to get kamashmon. So obviously, once she gets the get, she's not married. We see that this guy is running full speed after her, and it's pretty clear that moments before the guy, the shliach gives her the get, you see this guy darting from afar, running to probably say something or do something. So you would think the fact that he's doing this, then itself is a gilui. It makes it pretty obvious what his intentions were to be mevatel, and then eventually after the get was given, that in fact comes out that those were his intentions. So you would think really the get should be batel. The din is it's not. She's considered no longer married. If you look in Taisus over here, imu nada iso, if you didn't know about it, gilui daita ad acher she gilyada, until finally after she gets it, lav klumhu. You're going to have a rohit baser shliach. He's running after her. Vatule to mevatel v'savar shliach the hadaroid basri the boilim lamemer asher havla. Maybe the reason why he's running after me is saying, give it quick already. He doesn't know the reason, so it's not so clear what his intentions were when he was running after him. So why does it not work? After all, you know what's in his mind after the fact. So Tosfos at the very bottom says, "Lo mahani devarim shebelev lios devarim." As we see in many places in the Gemara Kedushin, that devarim shebelev einu devarim. There's nothing. It depends on what he says. What's in your heart and your thoughts does not count, and therefore, because of that, the din is that she is in fact divorced. Of course, this is in general an important concept. Obviously, what's in our minds is extremely important, and in certain aspects here, her kadibur dami, we say that your thoughts are like your words, but in reality, they are not the same, and therefore, devarim shebelev, what's in your mind, is einu devarim. It doesn't count as words, and therefore, one has to be careful. Of course, what goes in our minds, but what's much more careful is what comes out of our mouths. Tanurabanan, batalhu. So, what is the lashon that a person should say in order to nullify the get? So, if he says either batalhu or iyashi boy, devar kayaman, then his words are accepted, namely that the get is batal. Pasulhu enu get lo omer klum. If he says this get is pasul or this is not a get, so it doesn't help because it's not true. It is a get. Look, it's not a pasul get. It's a get kosher. It was written by a prominent scribe, signatures, everything. It's not a puzzle get. So therefore, your language caused that it's not considered to be batal. So lememra, you're trying to tell me the batal lishna the levatel gemashma. It sounds like the language of batal means that it will be nullified in the future. When it comes to accepting a gift, Shamar, you said after the gift was put into the hands, he says matanazu mevutelas. The gift is batal. Basically, you know what? It's a beautiful gift, but I want it back. Now, or let's say you say tibatel, afshiba, lomer klum. All these different things in this situation when it comes to also when it comes to a matana, that is not the proper lashon to cancel it. However, you say batelahi, it was always batal. Enu matana, it was never a gift. I never accepted this gift. Devarv kayamin. Then it works. So alma batal mikar mashma. So we see that batal means it never was. Batal goes based on prior status. It doesn't go on afterwards. So if we look at Rashi, batelahi, mashma batel hais mikaidim, shekibalti haidas baldin kame edim dami. The hari omer shul zachaba b'chayzeres l'naisein. Those are basically the one saying, I didn't want it, I didn't accept it, and therefore goes back to the one who gave it. The fact that he himself is saying it's not mine, I don't want it, and it goes back to the original person. It's like 100 witnesses to that effect. So basically we have this question. This language, this is also going to be question TA30. Homer Lashon Batel. If you say the language of Batel, who Matano beget, Batel who, when it comes to matana get, ha'im hakavana l'sha'avar or haba. So what does that mean? Past tense or future? So Omer Abaya, it could be both. Batel, as we continue Lamed Beis and Mid Beis, is actually shtei l'shanos mashma. It could have both connotations. Mashma de batel, it could mean that it's something which will be from before, which, as we said, when it comes to a gift. Umashma dili batel. It could mean that the get should become batel. Gabi get lishna de mahani be kamer. Gabi matan lishna de mahani ba kamer. Each one is going to be one which actually has effect. Says Rashi. V'kivan dehachi hu stam de milsa kitayin inish milsa de mahani be milsa kitayin. Probably when you're speaking, you're going to say it in a way which actually means something. You're not going to say it, oh, I meant the opposite of, there's two meanings, oh, I meant the other meaning, which doesn't actually work. No. You probably will want to use the lashon when you say it in a way in which it actually has an effect. Fine. And therefore, when it comes to a matana, it has to be, because now you have it has to be that you never had it, that it's from before. However, when it comes to a get, it has to be that you're mevatel it from the future, because from before we said that it doesn't count, because in fact it was physically a good document. All right, let's look at question TA30. It says like this. What's the answer to this question? But matana, it just says like this: matana l'sha'avar, in the past. If I get lahaba, lish de mahani be kaimer. So it doesn't really elaborate onto this why, but that's the reality. Okay. Weiter. Just marking this up for this is the end of the test. Having a Deer Shoe test this Sunday, so want to make sure that the new materials are ready. Okay. So let's see the next piece of Gemara. Amar Baya. Nikatinan, so we have the following tradition that we hold that shliach matana, when it comes to a shliach, to give a gift, harihu k'shliach a get, has the same halacha as a shliach who gives a get to a woman. So what does that mean? So nafkamina l'hoylech lav kazachidami, which we spent a lot of time in this Masechta already, discussing Hoylech. When you say the language of Hoylech, that you're asking a shliach to go and to bring a get, does it mean kazachi, that he's zoichet? And therefore, if it's kazachi dami, the second you give it to the shliach, then it's keilu like you already gave the gift. It's keilu like you already gave the get, and therefore you cannot retract. So the fact that we see here, says Rashi, im bitla hanoisein kaidim she'agil liyad hamakabel harihi betela, and that's what it's come to tell us, this chiddush, that hari. So the fact that they're the same is that the din is that must be hoyach lav kazachi dami, because otherwise the husband or the noisein of the gift would not be able to retract while the gift is in transition or being brought over to the person. Question 8 and TB1. It's for next test already. So what is the question? Amar Rabbi shleach matana k'shleach aget my nafkamina hoylech lav kazachi v'yochel achsabo min matana. You can always retract that shegil liad makabel. Fine. Okay, weiter. That's the same answer, obviously, as TB1. Ravina Ashchil Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, so he found him detoli v'koi be'ivr dedasha. He was like literally hanging around or hanging by the bolt of a door, which usually means that he is in some level of distress. V'kom boile, he asked, Batel Mahu, what is the din of Batel? The question is, why did he ask him that particular question when he's under distress? So there could be a reason behind that. You have to think about it. Somehow, that notion of being batel is to remove your original thought. So whatever you're bothered with, batel, maybe you should remove yourself from that thought. All right, something to think about. So the question, Rashi says, Im Omer batel v'lo Omer hu. The question is, he doesn't say the word batel hu, he just says batel. The question is, does that mean it? Does that have any the power for him to be mavatal teku? Omer Rav Sheshes v'yarmel something b'masnisatan get ze lo yoyel. If you use any of these languages, this get will not help. Lo yatir will not free her. Lo yaziv won't help. Lo yishaleach won't send her. Lo yigarish won't divorce her. Yecheres, it's earthenware. Yecheres, it's like earthenware. Devar kayamin. So since all these languages is a lashon of the future, which is what we said, it has to be a bittul lahaba. So you're not saying there's anything wrong with the get, but you're saying I now don't want it to work. Then it works. Einu moyel, it basically never worked. You're talking about in the future, in the past tense rather. Einu mater, einu maziv, einu mishalech, that it does not have the capacity to do any of these things. Einu migarish, cheres hu, kicheres hu, lo mer klum. In all these cases, this is a language with sha'avar, of past tense, and you cannot use that language when it comes to bittul for a get. Iboilhu, harhu cheres mahu. What if you say harhu cheres? Says Rashi, haba mashmo or shavar mashmo. What does that mean? Past or future tense. Amrle Ravino Ravacha Beredu Rabba. Some say it was Ravacha Beredu Rabba Ravashi. My shna. Why is it different than a person who says meharesh who hektish? Someone who says this is hektish, in which Rashi reminds us, the Gemara in Nedarim says, the Kaimelon, Davi hektish. It says in that situation that it is hektish, that it works. So Maishnash Maharihu hektish, Harihu hefker. So in those situations that it works, so then maybe it should in this situation say it works as well. So now the question is, says Rashi, Im nimla chabal. So the husband changed his mind. Lachsor legarish beget shebitloy. So let's say he had a beautiful get written, and then he used the proper language to mevatel the get. Now, that at that point the shliach can no longer bring it. Can he change his mind again? And by him changing his mind now to divorce her, does he have to write a new get, or can he just use the same one? He can use the same get. It's not a problem. He cannot do so, because once he was mavatal it, he's basically being mavatal to get and making it almost like cheres, like it's worthless, that the document has no validity. The halacha is like Kavah said Reb Nachman. The halacha is in fact like Reb Nachman, that you could still use this get. Eini, what are you talking about? Kaimel and Hilchas Kavah said Rabbi Yochanan the Oimer Chayzeres. We learn according to Rabbi Yochanan that she can retract. What is that referring to? So you need Rashi for this one. Without Rashi, I don't know how you know what this is talking about. This is unbelievable. So thank goodness for Rashi. It says b'kedushin b'perika Oimer l'chaveroi. When in Masechtas Kedushin, you say, I want to marry you with this money, right? So it's Kedusha Kesef, but it's only L'achar Shloshim. We'll only be married after 30 days. And then she retracts within those 30 days and says, you know what? I'm glad you gave me 30 days because I changed my mind at day 15. So batul hakadushin. They're not married. It wasn't a kedushin. Hoyol ubatalatan kadim shiu cholon, because it was only going to be chal after the 30 days go by. Now, within those 30 days, she changed her mind, so it's not a kedushin. So hachinami liftal gita. Why don't we say the same thing? That the get is also batal. That the get should not be able to be used. Just like this money cannot be used, which in itself is hard to understand, because if she gives back the money, maybe he could give back the money again. It's hard to understand exactly what the question is, but basically the question is, how could you tell me that we paskin like Rav Nachman the Chayes and Garishbo, and therefore that means the get is still good, but over here she can retract, which means the kesef that she's holding is not good for her to get married. So hachi hashta. So Gemara says the problem is sometimes where the question is, if you already know the answer, that you're at a disadvantage of knowing too much sometimes. Hachi hashta hasam dibor b'diborhu. So asi dibor mavatal dibor. So originally it was only words. The man said, "I'm going to marry you." His kadeshas alidei hadibor. I want to do kedushin. So since he used words, so dibor can come and she can be mavatal his original words. Over here, fine, he's mavatal the shliach. But he doesn't have the capacity to be mavatal the get itself, the document itself. The document is still a valid document. It doesn't do anything, it doesn't accomplish anything until it's given over to the woman or to the noising or to the makabel. Miyu says Rashi, Hamos lo batul. The money is not batul. Shim chazer v'kidsh behen medaita mekudeshes. Because if he goes and is mekadosh her with the same monies, it is a kedushin. So again, that's what Rashi is basically explaining within the teretz, that how it's really not comparable. Question 9. And then she wants it. Does he have to be mekadosh her again? Or the saga b'dibur rishon? Is the first words enough? So that's how he explains it. In other words, she said no, and then she changed her mind, and then she wants to get remarried. She's holding on to this money. So the answer is sarch laksol akacha. So he has to take the money back and be mekadosh her again, because asi dibur mavatal dibur, because her words were mavatal his original words. Umois will bottle, but the money is not bottle. Do asi dibur mavatal maisa. So her dibur is not mavatal the maisa. So the point is that the money is not bottle. But sarach laksol akacha, he has to go and be mekadosh her again, because her words were mavatal his words. Okay. Okay, let's see if there's another question. Adkan.